we got people wondering about vaccine, and we're not scientists.
No, sir.
And so before we even say anything about it, everybody's got to make their own decisions about what they think and what they believe. And I started not to bring this stuff up at all. And then I got to thinking, anywhere that I see something that maybe Satan's going to use, maybe the church ought to stand and make a statement at least about, or at least, look it over. Sometimes I don't know. Matter of fact, there's a lot of things I don't know. But what do you get? You already signed up for the vaccine?
I have not. I didn't know if you had to, put a mortgage down or you get a free vaccine or how it works.
I think you just get in line. But
I'll be honest. I'm led. They said that the first people that were going to get it would be frontline people with medical conditions and so forth. And the problem with the vaccine, I'm not against vaccines at all necessarily, but number one, you follow where the money is. You find out who's working with who.
Got anybody in mind?
Possibly.
Go ahead.
So
Anyway, you got in mind?
Well, we're looking at Pfizer and some of these big companies, and these companies make billions, trillions of dollars for what they do, and we can say they're here to help people, but they're obviously here to make money, or that's what they're doing. And if they're involved with any higher groups, like I don't know if they're involved with World Economic Council or others that are talking about global resets and build back betters and all those kind of things out there. But something gets developed so quickly, it hasn't been fully tested on everyone. They've had to, loosen up the red tape to get it through faster. That can be great on one part, but then we don't know all that it's going to do to you yet because they had to rush it out.
So you're going to take your kids to get the vaccine?
So I'm going to watch what happens with the whole first and second group that goes in and gets the vaccine before I ever do anything with it, personally.
But what about that deal? I've heard some stuff about maybe if it doesn't make you sick now, that 2 or 3 years down the road, maybe another COVID vaccine comes along, or the COVID virus comes along, and it really attacks you, and that's when you can get hurt. Now, I don't, is that true? I don't know, but when I hear questions like that out there, I'm not ready to, take my kid and take that chance.
No, we've even told our kids personally, if the school has tried to do anything, whether it be test you or whether it be to give you a shot or a vaccine or any of that, you call us immediately, and we'll come pick you up and we'll take care of whatever we need to take care of.
So you're not for it?
Not at the moment, no, sir. There ain't enough research.
So how long would we have to go?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
that's a real good question.
That's why it normally takes time.
I'm getting on up there.
Now we've got some people.
Well, I hadn't thought about that. I ain't there yet, but
we've got some people in the church that have already taken it. We've got some frontline people. We appreciate them, and we know and understand why they took it. And we've got some that have had no effects right away. Some have had little effects, the way vaccines work. But still, even then, the problem with anything new is it's just untested. And
it wasn't even. But isn't that what you mentioned earlier? Though it wasn't even tested like what the standard test for pharmaceuticals would.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, I think my big.
Oh, I'm a little bit concerned with that.
Well, I've taken some stuff from rocks before that hadn't been tested either.
Taking some what?
Some stuff from rocks. The vitamins.
Yeah, look what it did to you. I mean, we're proving our point right here.
Biceps growing in the wrong places.
Yeah.
Don't want that on your shoulders. Well, maybe you do.
It's all legal. All legal.
There's a lot to think about with it still. So that's something. But the best thing you said once again is do the research. If you're gonna put something in your body like that, find out. And you always say follow the money, follow the groups, see who's connected to who. We have enough distrust of big tech and big media and big government right now, and we've always had questions of big pharmacy, big pharmaceuticals, to just lay down all of a sudden and say, hey, we're going to take and do whatever you want, or states. And the other worry is when you got states like California that say, hey, you cannot go back into public school until you take this vaccine. And that opens up a whole nother can of worms.
Well, you've had some doctors, that even say that it's really more about the vaccine, and the virus is more about the vaccine. trying to get everybody to get the vaccine. You got to wonder, well, what's this big push about a vaccine, especially an mRNA vaccine, which we've never done before. We've never had vaccines for coronaviruses that worked. I mean, common cold coronavirus. And so we've been trying to get a cure for that for ever since I can remember.
Ever.
You know, it's still...
I mean, we've got chicken soup, but that's as far as we've gone.
Chicken soup.
Yeah.
My doctor gave you an enema waiting for everything.
Oh, I ain't doing that.
Yeah,
I've heard
I'll
that
take the
deal.
vaccine first.
No.
But, you know, I read on Facebook when I'm on there with friends or family, and it's a hotly debated issue. And we've got people, like I said, in the church that have had mild effects of corona. They've had heavy effects. They've had family members die. We've had all the mix. We've had some that have taken it, some that haven't. I'm not telling anyone else what to do or not to do, but
No, I'm not asking you to.
do the
we're
research.
just kicking it around us guys around the office
Yeah.
here. And basically that's what we do here is, you know, whatever we're kicking around, we're just letting you listen in.
Right.
We're not standing before the church hollering right now and saying, you know, this is the way, this is the truth of God,
No, sir.
But if
and you need to stand here.
That's right.
if it can affect you on such a level, then you want to do the research to find out everything that you can.
Yeah.
And you may have to go a little under the surface to get that research, because we can't trust everything on the surface right now with media and news and government trying to tell you what to do. So,
But one of the questions I really have about it, you remember at the first this thing, you had that Dr. Stella Manual and the frontline doctors, which I'd suggest everybody go read their stuff, watch their videos. The frontline doctors who were standing there in front of the Capitol. She said that she'd had this great success rate with hydroxychloroquine.
Right.
And they canceled that lady.
Right.
And then I saw another video later on where she'd come back and she got to talk about it some more on a different platform because she'd gotten taken down off the main platforms.
Right.
But she said, man, this is something we give babies.
Right.
It's been around for years and years and years, and it works, and I've been using it in my practice, and we're having, and today they've got hydroxychloroquine, they got ivermectin. That they're both having great success with both those drugs, and I'm thinking, well, why would I want to go take a vaccine I don't know anything about if you can take hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin?
Ivermectin's for cows, right?
Yeah, we used to give it to cows for coronavirus.
they
They give
so
it
they
pig
pour
barns.
so
you
they
know,
pour it down your
give-
back when
the cow death rate
it's got fly
right
control
now
in
is
it also.
very low.
It's a shot. You can pour it on.
I hope there's
put
a
it
little
in your
difference in the what they're giving humans and the way you give it. I do know there's so many guys who do, you know, they give a little to their pig and give themselves a little.
I know you can't find it around here right now.
Well, you
Little
know,
for
I know
livestock, little
no
for
business wants to sell an item that never wears out, that you don't need to go buy another item. So Willy Wonka is not going to want to sell everlasting gobstopper gum because you're going to be able to chew it forever, and why would you buy more gum? So I think that when you find something that's cheap and easy and works, and you can get it, some of these big companies say, hey, I'd rather sell something that's more expensive.
I've never had a gobstopper.
Yeah, I haven't either. I'm just
You
saying
never
they
had
work.
a gobstopper?
Not the
Saying they work.
everlasting.
So,
I've got to find something here in a minute.
but I can understand now. I can understand someone else saying that, hey, the vaccine's for the front end, so you don't get sick, and then need hydroxychloroquine.
There you
and
go.
then get your other family infected before you know it. So I can understand that argument for sure, but that doesn't make the vaccine safer or not. It just is an argument.
The hard thing in that is that they talked about that, and like he said, they canceled her. I mean, on and on. This stuff, we don't need to take it. We're not even going to offer it. We're getting rid of it, and now they're bringing it back up and saying it works. They're offering it now, right?
Yes, I noticed this morning. I think I came in telling y'all that Biden's done such a great job since he got in office.
Right, you were excited this morning.
Yeah, I'm excited. What a great job he's doing because for the first time we've been under 100,000 people with COVID for the last 2 days, and that's in spite of the fact that we've got this new strain that's come in, and now then we got drugs that can treat it like hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin. We didn't have those before.
No.
I mean, I know why the cases dropped.
Yeah.
They literally said we're going to change the parameters of what is now called a COVID case and what isn't from what the parameters were before.
Yeah.
So it's magic that the cases started dropping in New York and California. All of a sudden want to open up their their economy when it's supposedly was worse than before. But now that we have a new administration, they all of a sudden want to make the economy look better.
People need to open their eyes.
Well, we get these terms floating around that if you can't see right now that there's something much more nefarious than a virus going on and election fraud going on, and you just see all this junk coming in, it's just an evident takeover. Your rights being thrown away and shut down. The First Amendment entirely gone. Second Amendment coming under attack every day. And so what's the problem there? There comes Nat again. He got mad and run off because he didn't like what we were saying.
He went to go take the vaccine.
He didn't like what we were saying about vaccines.
The fact that you just mentioned words that you're not even allowed to say on YouTube or Facebook without being censored, demonetized, or fact checked means that there's a problem in the first place.
We may have just been shut down.
Yeah,
Yes,
could have been.
So when he said
Except we're not
election
popular
fraud,
enough to
he
be shut
meant
down.
something else. We need to have code words that we can say. So.
Yeah. Who would know our code words?
Well, to teach everyone online, including YouTube, what our code words are. So
You can just do a symbol.
in the air.
This dude watches way too much fantasy stuff.
Yes. The election fraud is now the orb of light. So
Yeah.
we had major problems with orb of light this past year.
He can be talking so intelligently, and it just goes off the rails. We're talking about lightsabers.
Wow.
So is the ivermectin, it's in a dip too, isn't it? Ivermectin, isn't it in a dip also?
Yeah, I think so.
They've taken it off the shelves, though.
Like in
You
Tractor
can get
Supply
it
and
to
stuff?
vet. Go to the
Well,
vet.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, you have to. I know of several people like
Yeah, that bought it from like
they're trying to get it and going. I need this and I need this type of needle. Well, that type of needle is not for a cow. That's for a human. Well, my husband told me to get it like that. So,
Yes.
we're vaccinating cattle.
Well, I think I said this Sunday, but I was talking to a man this last week. I was sitting down having coffee with him, and he got to telling me about having coronavirus. He said, nearly died. He said, passed out twice, and told my wife, said, you will not take me to the hospital. They'll put me on a ventilator, and I'll die. So he just refused to do that. And somebody gave him the name of a doctor. He called the doctor. And that doctor asked him, he said, is your doctor giving you hydroxychloroquine? He said, no. He says, he can't. He says, well, that's nonsense. I'm going to get you. And anyway, I don't know how he did it, but he managed to get him hydroxychloroquine. He said, within 3 days, I began to recover. And he said, I'd gone straight downhill for 10 consecutive days.
Wow.
Getting sicker and sicker and sicker.
Okay, so here's my question. If that is the case, if it's been proven by people that it's working, if the ivermectin's proven to help to curb some of these, what is the purpose of not pushing everybody towards that?
Population.
Money, right? Money, pharmaceuticals. If we can make sure that some of these, like Pfizer. If it gets whatever, some royalties through the whole deal. You dropping again?
Yeah. Mine keeps going down.
Right. So is it big money in pharmaceuticals? Is that one of the? Is that it, or is that part of it?
Well, there's still the philosophical argument that now, I'm not saying that the vaccine works properly or not. I'm just saying the argument is this: the vaccine's supposed to work on the front end so that you don't get sick and you don't spread it to others. The
Except they don't
But
know
it's
if it
not-
works.
Well, that's the point. I said I'm not counting.
But
if
you
it
are
works or
getting
not.
sick.
But that's
still,
what
right?
they're saying. Their argument is, hey, we want to prevent you from getting sick, so it doesn't get to other people. So less and less people have to get sick and take hydroxychloroquine.
Do we take any vaccine for that?
No. Is it a prevention? It's not a preventative, is it? It's like it just helps reduce the symptoms. It's not keeping you from getting it.
I thought it was supposed to be a preventative, but I haven't heard.
What I've understood of the whole thing is it's not like preventing you from getting it. It just reduces the symptoms of how hard it hits you.
The fact is, this whole thing just stinks to high heaven. I mean, today, the
Even
first
if
thing I see when I get up is that the WHO has decided not to check out China anymore in Wuhan because they know for a fact now that it didn't come from there. And I'm thinking, well, why is everything is a lie? And I think there's two trails you can follow, and one of those trails is the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And three trails. The other trail leads down Build Back Better and Global Reset, which they're very clearly trying to say. And I said three, I guess maybe I just had two, but I thought of one of them twice. I'm getting older.
well, climate change, right? Climate change,
Which
you're
is
putting
climate
that in.
change is a part of the global reset. Yeah.
Right.
And would you clarify, would you consider that, like, if you had a biblical theme, would that be Tower of Babel? Would that be human heaven on earth? How would you describe what they're trying to accomplish in their mind that we see in the Bible? One's the love of all money, the root. How would you think?
Well, you kind of asked me two questions there. One of them is, what does the Bible say? And the other one, what's in their mind?
Yeah, so
which
what's,
one do you want?
What's the
an answer
Bible
to?
argument to label what they're trying to do with Build Back Better, Great Reset?
Well, the Bible argument, of course, is when you're reading through Daniel 2, Daniel 8, Revelation 13, 1
Apocalypse?
Thessalonians. Huh?
Apocalypse?
Yeah, you're talking about that there will be a... He gives all those nations that will rise and fall. The last of those, of course, is that image with the motley feet in the first image there in Daniel 2. And there's always a common denominator. When you get to the end of time, you have a satanic coalition of nations that rise up. There's a man that rises top of that. He's called the Antichrist. And he comes to power, and Satan gets to rule through him. And God lets him for a period of 3.5 years. And at the end of that, always, Jesus comes and brings in righteousness and justice at the end of it. And so the image is always smashed, and it's always smashed by Jesus, or in Revelation, it's by the word of his mouth that he comes along, he destroys this guy at Armageddon. And so what we know is that at some point the world's all going to go toward that, right? But then if you ask the question, what are they thinking? Well, now Justin would tell you they're idiots.
I saw Justin mouth that.
Here's what they're really thinking. These guys really think, I believe, that they are going to bring heaven on earth. And they're going to do this thing worldwide. So is their motive bad? Well, their starting place might not have been, I want to have peace and love for everybody. But here's the other part. They think they're smarter than you are. And so you don't need any rights because you're stupid. And you don't get to think, and you don't get to talk, and you don't get to say anything because they're so much smarter than you are. But what they don't know is, even though they think they got them a good idea, they're demon possessed.
Well, their starting point was that they didn't start with God first, and that we're in a world.
It's no common sense.
We're in a sinful, fallen world right now, and there won't be heaven on earth until Christ comes back. So they may have, like you said, trying to create heaven on earth. They're trying to create it while sin is here, and it's kind of like a naiveness, hippie naiveness about the world. That people are going to just get along and behave well just because they want to be so.
There is a plan for a global world takeover. We are in the middle of that in America right now. And make no mistake about it, now are they going to get it accomplished? We're going to fight them tooth and nail to try to make sure they don't get it accomplished. But the same guy that's in charge of the vaccine or really pumped all the money in, which of course we're talking about Bill Gates. Okay. And all right, so he's all about population control. We know we've already used this vaccine, or a vaccine, in Africa, and a bunch of those women came up sterilized. By the way, if you follow what scientists are saying about this, and kind of get out of the mainstream media for a minute, because they're all pushing this global agenda, but just go kind of do some of your own research, and what you find out is a lot of these. It's happened. It has the same effect. It can cause reproductive problems. Not only can it cause reproductive problems, but they're coming in and spraying all your schools down every day. And there's been scientific papers written that this stuff they're spraying your school down with every day, that in lab rats caused a 50% reproduction problem. In other words, 50% of those rats weren't able to reproduce through several generations.
Wow.
Well, you can't have many generations if you can't reproduce. You don't have any generations. But they, anyway, it
Thomas
caused
J.
major
Henry's
problems.
going to have a field day.
Now, you talked about population control, but if there's people out there that haven't thought this through, they may kind of scoff at that and say, hey, why would anyone want to limit population and basically kill people or prevent them from being born? But to show them the argument, it would be kind of like saying, hey, I've got a raft. I'm out in the ocean. If too many people climb on this raft, it's going to fall over and we're all going to die. So we're going to have to push some people or keep them off that raft so that the raft doesn't collapse through.
And I really wish people would quit being sheeple and zombies. And whatever the propaganda tells you, I just accept it. What would be wrong with going and doing a little research and read a science paper yourself? Because there's some great ones out there that you can read. And we can go back and talk about that in a minute. But how about history? What you just said. Have you ever heard of eugenics? Eugenics was used by the Nazis, wasn't it? Mm. And then they claimed, well, that wasn't really what we were doing. But it was. They were trying to use eugenics and what were they doing? Well, they were killing off a population. They decided that the Jewish people needed to be exterminated. And I don't want to throw up any red flags or anything, but they're now calling you as a Christian a domestic terrorist. And it starts real small. So I take that personally. You know?
Well, you're called the obstacle.
You're a terrorist. When that dude that lady on MSNBC saying what you really need to do, they want to drone strike us.
Right.
Reprogram if possible. Eliminate secondary.
That's extreme. They got Trump being impeached now, or trying to, because he said go in peace to the Capitol. And they're saying, drone strike those suckers.
Do you remember when there was a lot of pushback against Christian groups that were trying to re-educate people that had homosexual tendencies, and they were, oh, you're brainwashing them, you're doing this. But then they're on TV talking about reprogramming people that are conservative, reprogramming people that are Trump supporters, and that's great. That's what we should do.
Good luck with that.
But once again, the hypocritical irony is amazing.
Yeah, I got a Bible in one hand, Constitution in the other. This isn't getting pre-programmed. Isn't happening.
But with the
Drone strike.
With the human population
be struck.
And that whole global reset.
Did y'all see that?
I saw nothing.
Did y'all see that?
We can't have.
If you're listening on audio,
It shattered my phone.
did it?
No, it didn't.
Oh,
I was amazed.
It didn't used to have that line in it.
Yeah, I don't see it. It does have a line in the middle of
Is
it.
that a cheat sheet?
No, that was a text.
Text.
Yeah,
Who is it?
Brenda Truesdale.
Was it nice?
Can you read
It's
it?
from Brenda Truesdale.
Can you read it on the? We're on. Just so you know, we're live here.
She's listening.
But
She's
we
nice.
talked about Bible.
She's very
taking
nice.
this back to the Bible, and when we talk about global reset, population control, the worldview of pantheism really comes to mind, whether it's Bill Gates or somebody else. And James Cameron in Hollywood and movies, people watch his movies by the millions. He's got one of the top 2 movies ever made. And when you watch the movie Avatar, which I own and I enjoy, it is a total movie about pantheism, that the world is divine, that the world is all that we have, and that we need to do everything to make sure that the world is okay at the expense of the people that live in it so that we can survive. So we don't just care for it, we literally worship it, pray to it, and talk to it. And you can just watch that movie, and he has talked about why he made the movie, what his belief is, and why he inserted in that movie for kids and people to believe. And it's not to say that with all the money he has that he's not in league with some of these people, and this is the way that they're thinking. Why do we take care of the world? Because literally that's all we have, because they don't have a belief in God. And so we've got to, even if we have to eliminate population to keep it surviving and healthy, whatever we need to do, we will do that.
So we got to kill a few people.
Mm-hmm.
These people need to get out of places like New York and spend a little time out there in West Texas where you can drive for 6 hours and never see a fence
We
post.
have a little bit of extra land. Of course, Bill Gates is buying all that land up in the U.S., by the way.
And we're actually growing stuff out there. He is buying it up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's buying up railways and the same guy that has the population control is going to be controlling the food supply.
So,
Is he buying up Middle America, or is it just?
I think he's buying up a lot of pieces like
He's
that.
even buying stuff in Canada where they ship that stuff down from there.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Transportation, all kinds of stuff.
So
'Cause
did
if
y'all?
you got money, you can do that. Yeah, I barely got enough money to go to the grocery store.
So I know none of y'all watched the Super Bowl. I didn't watch it. Anybody? Did y'all watch it? I didn't see it.
No, when they started kneeling to the flag, I quit watching them play. I
Well,
don't care
that's
anything
kind of
about
where I was at on it. And I know people have different opinions on that.
it. Wait a minute, unknown's calling me.
This is,
And-
unknown's a nice word for spam risk.
It means
They're listening.
I have a warranty.
Yes.
But so with the so I know that there's been people that have argued different things on watching the Super Bowl or not. Me personally, to what I've been telling people, I don't want to. I didn't want to watch it. I haven't watched an NFL game all year, and I've got my own personal reasons for that. And if you do it, you don't have to. Nobody has to persuade me why they think it's okay. That's fine. Watch it. I'm not telling you not to. I'm just telling you I didn't.
Isn't that kind of what freedom's about?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and everybody feels like, well, maybe I need to defend my position on why I watched it or not. But here's where I was getting to. What I did hear a lot about, and I'm still hearing a lot about today, was a commercial that was played in there where Bruce Springsteen wore a cowboy hat in a Jeep, and they were talking about unity. And I think what the gist of the commercial was trying to get was unity right there in the bringing in that center part of America, so that it's not so much focused on the West Coast, East Coast, but what they're trying to say is let's bring it all together, which I don't really think that they care much about what.
These are the same people that the mayor of Tampa Bay wanted to prosecute the people that didn't have their mask on.
That's the problem.
Unity.
My question then is like where is the unity? Is it the do what I say and then we can have unity type of attitude? Which is what we're seeing, right? But we will be unified as long as you're doing exactly like I tell you to do it, when I tell you to do it, and how I tell you to do it.
And as long as you don't speak your mind.
So basically, they mean to say uniformity, but they pass it off as unity.
Right.
Yeah. Because you can have free speech so long as you say what I want you to say.
And when did Bruce Springsteen become the token cowboy?
I don't know, that dude. Really.
He's not speaking
few
for
of these
us.
people are not really my role models.
Right.
But you can't have unity and talk about one. We're gonna have unity, but let's go impeach President Trump when 80 million people love the guy to death.
Well, that's
and
going
we're
on
gonna
today.
drone strike you because we don't agree with you. We're gonna take you down. Look, took Lou Dobbs down. Lou Dobbs. I've been listening to Lou Dobbs since I was a knee high to an ant.
He was on CNN, then went to Fox.
that was yesterday.
Still there.
Yeah, still never moved. You guys y'all aren't nice to me.
I said nothing.
Bethany was talking to us yesterday about that song Days of Elijah and how Jesus is going to be coming back on that white horse. And you always talk about in your sermons how he's going to have that Shetland pony right next to him ready for you.
Yeah, I'm going to have my Shetland. I hope it's not a Welsh. So nasty little suckers.
It might fall over.
But, and all right, we've had the mass discussion 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your current position, Jordan?
I'm still working through it. I think you explained your position very well on Sunday night or Sunday morning. You went through pretty well on where you're at with this whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm still where I'm at before, which is I struggle with the idea of the local situation versus the global situation. You're very much against where this is going globally. This is a war nationally and globally. I'm not wearing it, not only because I'm not sure about the science of it in the first place, but because this is part of
Let me stop you right there. It's the science of it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about science.
Okay.
All right. Can you pull me up here?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk to
Go to-
Dr.
go to-
Fauci for just a minute. I'm going to play a little clip from Dr. Fauci.
Go to big screen.
Got a
But-
big screen.
Yeah. So yeah, hit
I get
that.
to use a big screen.
We're gonna
God,
check.
Y'all plugged me in and everything got so small I can't read it anymore.
That's what
Shut your
happens
head
when
up
it's
and
too
use your
much.
bifocals.
Yeah.
Is that why?
I want to check the sound on this real quick. So play a part of it in just a moment, and then we'll make sure the sound's coming through. So everybody else has to be quiet.
Okay. Can you hear me? Oh, you want to hear him?
Yes.
Okay.
Not you.
Now, I'm playing. Did the sound come through?
It looks like it's coming through.
I can't hear it. So how do I know when to quit it? Is it playing?
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted Jordan to hear it.
And it's not live, so I can't go
Oh,
on
well,
Facebook
pause,
or YouTube.
What we can do is-
pause it.
Pause it.
Here, plug this into his sound.
Okay.
But Jordan's not gonna be able to hear it.
Yeah.
Oh,
You got it. You'll get it.
So, yeah, because we were talking about the science, and I wanted him to hear what Dr. Fauci said. And then I've got this thing, I can see his lips moving. And now I can't make him shut up.
And turn it up where sounds come.
Turn your volume all the way up.
Quit. Quit.
The settings say it's going through HDMI or through.
Y'all have to bear with us on some of this stuff because we're trying to learn it too.
Yeah. Turn my volume all the way up. My volume thing's not there anymore.
Ooh. These microphones, we need to super glue them down.
Does Rush Limbaugh have this problem?
Rush Limbaugh's been doing this for a while.
Yes,
Yeah.
a little longer than we have.
Okay. I have no control over volume here anywhere.
Okay, so go to settings.
Yeah, your volume's over there.
My volume's over here. Oh. Okay.
Now it's off. Now it's up. Yeah, you're all the way up.
I'm all the way.
You're good.
All right.
Okay.
So everybody can hear now.
I don't know.
And we'll find out when
we're
you
about to
play it.
find out.
Okay. Can you hear me? I hadn't turned it on yet. All right, let's go.
Closely to this. Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often, there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Okay, so am I back on, or do y'all have to
Yeah, you're
adjust
back.
some-
You're good.
okay.
Oh, you're
All
good.
right, so what he just said, he said, masks ain't doing you no good
Right.
because we've known for years they don't do any good against respiratory viruses or any virus.
Which is what he's
And
been saying. He said at the very beginning.
He said
of
at the very beginning, and he said the other problem there, he said, was cross-contamination. Have y'all seen anybody cross-contaminating these masks?
Where they're touching it, yeah.
cross-contaminating everything
So,
around us.
so scientifically, our super scientist, Dr. Fauci, said up front, thing don't work.
Right. And the CDC,
Yeah.
who
Said it didn't work.
both of them.
Then you go back the April 15th, anything before 2020. There's several studies out there, but one of my favorites, British Medical Journal, April 2015. And they 1,700 hospitals, or 1,700 hospital workers in Hanoi. And they divide them into 3 groups, and they specifically start out with the hypothesis that the cloth mask will help. And they're doing it in these third world countries because they don't have the money to buy that. So they have a group wearing surgical mask, a group wearing cloth mask, and they have a test group. And apparently they had some N95 masks there. And what they found was that 97% of everything went through the cloth mask. They found that the surgical mask was 40% effective. N95 was about 99% effective. Right, so that's what the data said. And you remember here a while back, Fauci came back and said, "Oh, one mask going to wear 2."
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yes.
That same study, I went back and read it again. Matter of fact, I went over it with a fine-tooth comb. And it said that, number one, conclusion, we suggest you do not wear a cloth mask because they cause respiratory problems as this stuff builds up in them. And the other thing that they had in there, which I hadn't noticed before because he hadn't said this before, that it was more dangerous to wear 2 masks.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's look at science for just a minute.
Okay.
How big is the virus?
So we did that. Here's the problem. Nobody out there knows this information because it's not going out to anybody.
That's what we're doing.
Well, my issue is, for me personally, number one, I'm believing you and I'm following that information. The problem is I'm sitting here trying to figure out if I'm respecting the freedom and right of the store to tell me what they can do or not do, and how I'm going to combat this. How are we going to combat this? Are we going to go in and test it with the girl that's at the door of the place that tells you what to do it, or are we going to write to the manager or the owner of the company? Are we going to do it politically through the local, state, and national Congress or legislator, or are we going to do it through the heads of the companies, or are we going to do it with the local person right there? The narrative of the media is that we need the mask. We only need 1. We need 2. That is effective. You're a hater if you don't wear it. You're causing trouble. And so I'm deciding on the local level, 1, if I'm going to not wear it, even though the store's telling me on their door, you need to wear it. Do I go elsewhere, take my money elsewhere? Do I go in and challenge them on it? Number 2, the person I'm challenging, do they have any ability to change that rule at all? Or do we need to go to a manager or an owner to do that? And so that's my issue. On the local level, I'm maybe not going to do those things, but need to find another way to do it. Someone else maybe is.
Well, the way people look at masks is different with everybody, okay?
Right.
And so my position is I'm not going to not love you because you have a different position. Or if somebody that feels very strongly about the mask comes to church, I certainly want them to come. I'm not going to say anything or judge you because you wore the mask. But in my mind, one of the things that we're having trouble with is that they don't want you to talk and express. So what I'm saying is you can express and believe what you want to, but I want to express and believe what I want to. And what I believe is that this thing has been used of Satan and of some evil people to divide, to cause problems. It's unscientific, and yet they're lying to you and telling you how scientific it is, even though they've had to change the science. So now that I don't have science, I have scientism, which is, the difference is one of them I'm weighing things out. I'm looking for facts. That's science. In scientism, I'm just believing whatever they say.
So Aaron Shepard on Fox News recently had said the science is clear, folks. Masks do work.
Who?
Aaron Shepard, Fox News.
Well, the dude with the makeup?
Yeah. But here's my problem is that you can't just say stuff like that without having some evidence behind it. Like, show me the science that you're saying is so clear, because it's not there. Just because you said it, it makes it clear. But I hear Dr. Fauci say that something opposite, right? So if I'm listening to Dr. Fauci, who's a scientist, over a reporter for Fox News, well, now I'm listening to this guy who's saying it doesn't work. Well, now, and then he's flipped the script on this, but still they haven't shown any science that it does work.
Yeah.
Right. So now I have to ask myself the question, what is the purpose then?
And we got to ask ourselves once again, where are the most effective ways to win this war? Because right now we're losing the war in the media.
I see what you're saying.
So
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but
let me answer one of the things that you were saying earlier. You said, so do we combat this with the young girl who's standing at the door who's asking you to wear a mask? You don't need to argue with people like that. That's where I go back to that text where I was talking about in Luke chapter 9, I think is where it was, where Jesus is going into a town of Samaritan people, right? It's a Samaritan town. They see that Jesus is headed for Jerusalem. They tell Jesus, hey, why don't you just move on? They said, just go on about your business, move on through our town. We don't want to have anything to do with you. Two of his disciples, and I'm trying to remember Simon and
John James.
It might have been John
Sons
and
of
James.
Thunder trying to call down thunder.
It might, yeah.
It's
it
John
was-
James
yeah.
because they're nicknamed.
They
name for a
said,
reason.
"Should we call fire down out of heaven to burn this place up?" Jesus says, "You don't know what kind of spirit you are of."
He said, "Wait until we're out of town first."
Yeah, just wait. What he said, you don't know what spirit you're of, right? And so, to me, when I'm looking at that, I'm going, if I go to somebody's place of business, or especially this little girl that's in there that doesn't really know, she's just been told make sure everybody wears their mask. Do I cause a scene in there? No, absolutely not. My point though is I have the freedom to choose not to be there.
Yeah.
And you're voting with your money.
But I think where this has gotten tricky is it's one thing to say, hey, we're voting with our money, we're not going in there. We've got a lot of people saying, hey, I want to test this. And that's where it gets tricky.
That's where
I don't think it gets, in my mind, when you see evil, you stand against it. Now, if I got science over here, I've got 3 reasons I'm not going to wear that mask. The first one's theological. I'm not going to wear it because we're made in the image and the glory of God. If we're made in the image and glory of God, and that's reflected in our smile, it's reflected in our expression, then why would I want to cover that up?
Well, the argument that a lot of people have been saying in that why we ain't all running around naked.
Well, he said expression.
Oh,
And I said your face, too.
okay.
What's that got to do with being naked?
I don't know. I mean, when and that's back to the new, or what you were saying.
The Great Reset in the world
the
order.
great reset of the
Heaven
world
on
order,
earth.
heaven on earth.
Got an innocence in it, but we're in a sinful world.
Yeah. I'm saying that your image, your expression is on your face.
Mm-hmm.
When Moses came from being in the presence of God, the glory of God shone on his face. You can look at somebody's face nearly and tell if they're a Christian or not by just talking to them before they ever mention it. So I've got that. Then I've got the scientific argument. Why am I masking up if it's doing no good? I mean, I got a virus that's between, I believe, 80 and 120 nanometers. And then I've got so how big is that in circumference? Well, if you take a hair, if you just look at the science of it and get all those measurements, take a hair and split it by 50, and then take that 50th and divide it by 1,000. That's how small the virus is. Well, the hole in your mask is much bigger than that. It's like probably 1,000 times bigger. So scientifically, it's not doing any good. And that brings me to a third article, which is a political argument. When someone is trying to do something evil, do I stand against it? And say, well, yeah, okay, so it's not that little girl's problem that needs to tell you to wear a mask, and you don't want to be rude to her. We do not want to be doing anything unloving, ever. That's not our point. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Love your neighbors yourself. I cannot love people effectively, though, and say I'm not going to stand against evil. It's never been that way. When has that ever been? And so I'm not going to wear it. I'm not going to get mad at you if you do. If you have a different opinion, that's fine.
Well, like I said, it comes down to, once again, how do we challenge this and how do we fight it back? At what places and at what levels do we fight it back? That's going to be effective.
Look, there's power in numbers. And if enough people will stand up and say, no, this is nonsense. But the problem we got now is it's just like everything else. Well, we're going to boycott that company. Well, most people aren't. They'd rather have whatever they got to offer than to say, I'm not going to go spend my money with you. And every time they go in there and spend their money, they vote and they let them keep on with their agenda like they're doing it. So everybody keeps wearing the mask. Everybody keeps just following the world system. They're pushing you around. And you don't know why you wear it. And on the other hand, I got all these people that are scared to death. I went to get water today at the water mill. And this guy pulls up there, And before he ever gets out, he's 20 feet from me. And he gets out and puts his mask on. Like he's scared that if he gets close to the watermill, that these coronaviruses are going to jump off and up his lungs. Fears everywhere.
You said enough people need to rise up, but that's the issue. Is you got spotty groups of little people saying, "Hey, I'm going to challenge the person at the door here, maybe here." But do we have enough groups writing to the owners of the stores, to the corporations? Are we changing the narrative of the media?
At my house, we're doing all of it. Yes, we are writing managers, and we're being nice to people. Like yesterday, I needed to get my oil changed, and I went to a place where I always get my oil changed. And it's this little old bitty outbuilding, and there's one guy in there. And so I come walking in the door, and, "Sir, do you have a mask?" I said, "No, I don't." "Well, you can't come in here with a mask." I said, "Well, thank you," and I went on my way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I go down, and I found another place down here. I talked to God about it first, and I think he led me to where I needed to go. But when I got in there, he had a big discount on my oil. Said, "I've got a coupon for you," and they rotated my tires for free. And I thought, well, yeah, that worked out pretty good, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I found a new place to do business that wasn't going to challenge me because I chose to have freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom's important.
But I think everything you just talked about is the nice way of doing it. I don't think it was a combative, challenging way to go up to a place that has it posted right there and just go, "Hey, I'm just going to go test them and see what they're talking about."
And I agree with you. I think
And that's what I've been saying the whole time.
I think that people need to we're not going to get mean, right? And that goes back to the story that I was saying from Jesus. And they want to call fire down out of heaven, burn the place up. Jesus says there's a right spirit of how to handle things. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not getting mad at people and throwing a fit when I run into a situation. I may get frustrated that just going, I wish people would listen. I know they're not even going to listen anyway. So especially if I go to a place like the gym situation that I've dealt with recently, they're coming and telling me, "Look, they've even told me this is coming down from corporate, that we have to handle it this way." And I said, "I understand that. That's fine. Okay. But I don't have to spend my money there." Here's the next topic that's been discussed with me a bunch, and I've been thinking through this and told several people the answer to this. They said that they agree with us on not wanting to wear a mask, but when they go to work, they have to wear a mask.
Yeah, wear it.
I said, if your company, here's my stance on this, if your company is telling you to wear a mask, you have to wear a mask. It's your job. It becomes a uniform.
However, everything, Brother Robert's 3 points would contradict that. To say, as if to say, like Daniel, if Daniel's told to bow down to something that's evil, he's not going to do it. So
no, but your uniform.
That's not exactly what I said. I don't think this is the same as bowing down before an evil.
But you said we need to express our faith theologically, made in the image of God.
Yeah, I think
it's an evil plan to take over.
Am I against a doctor in surgery wearing an N95 mask? No. Am I against somebody in here wearing an N95? No.
I guess what I meant.
Are we against them wearing a mask if, like these refinery guys that have to wear a mask going into a certain unit?
Well,
or
that's the difference. The difference is a medical person versus a business that's requiring its employees to wear a cloth mask. And that's what I'm talking about.
But if they tell you to wear a uniform, you wear the uniform.
Yeah, if they tell you to wear a hula shirt with a straw hat.
There's uniforms that we wouldn't wear at certain places.
And I hope
you don't have to work there.
And I hope you're making this distinction. I'm not saying it's godless. If it were godless,
there needs to
I'd
be
be holding a real firm line.
There needs to be a whole other conversation.
But if I got to go to the eye doctor because I can't see you. And I know before I make an appointment, I'm going to be required to wear a mask when I go in there. So I'll put on my mask. I have to go in there. And I have to get my eyes checked. But I don't have to go buy tires from A when Bill let me wear it without a mask. Right?
Mm-hmm. I think we'd all agree with that, though.
And the government can't come in here to the church and tell you people all put your mask on. I mean, we have constitutional rights
I think we would all agree on
we
that too.
stand on. And if you and me go somewhere and you choose to wear your mask, that's your choice.
All
But
3
I
seconds.
don't
as
think
I'm
I
walking
want to
to the
let
table.
your fear take away my freedom. That's kind of where I stand on it.
And we kind of come back to the freedom of the individuals and the freedom of the business to do what they say. But we all said, hey, if we don't like it, let's go somewhere else. And I think we all agree on that. It's just
I will tell you, I wish everybody would chunk that mask down. Except maybe some, there's some elderly people that got comorbidities. And if they're going to wear a mask, I have no problem with that. I wish they'd wear
The right one.
better
an
mask.
N95 mask. And don't get the one in China, made in China, because as I studied those masks, what I found that even the N95 mask has different limits of safeguard to it. Even amongst 3M masks themselves, there's a difference in different N95 masks. So you need to kind of, again, do your homework. But that cloth mask isn't doing anything.
But we need to really escalate the media level of this to say, hey, here's what the science says. Here's the hypocrisy of the people that are trying to tell you what to do. And here are better solutions. And that's the sad fact. It's just like with the election. Why do we have, not to say who voted more, but we have enough people in this country voting a way that we aren't because we have a media telling them what to think and believe.
Yeah.
From the top down.
So what's your take, Justin? You didn't say anything.
There to be, I feel a lot about what you said is I agree. I think a lot of people that think the way we think stand on the same grounds in that. My fear with a lot of our mission as a church and any time that we've ever had a question of anything is it loving people? And I've seen some ways where it hasn't been loving people, not from here. I'm saying just in general of how they respond to it. And so there has been a fear for me of what has been the loving thing to do in certain situations. I think a lot of people are confused. And I guess the best way that I have seen is that we've got a lot of our job here within the church is to love God, love people, but we're also here to shepherd and lead people into a certain way out of love, but also to the Word and to who He is and what He's done. I think there's a lot of confusion in that because of the facts that aren't being said. And in that, also, I've heard the big argument come before as well. There's nobody in my family that has passed or I was in a situation the other day. I was in a vehicle with someone from a store, and I had to go in this store to buy some stuff that we were going to be using here at the church. And they asked us to wear a mask, so I put on a mask because I needed to buy what we needed to do what we're doing, actually some of this stuff. And when I got in the truck, they were with me, and they had on a mask. And I had mine off, and we were driving, and we're just carrying on basic conversation. And asked, how are things with your family going? And he said, immediate family's been fine. But I had cousins, and I don't know if it was 7 or 8. I think that 6 of them had passed through this deal. And just hearing that type of stuff, like I said, there's a lot of confusion through what is real, what's not real. And for me, I know that my job with you, I'm not going to be sharing the gospel with you. You know who Jesus is, and you know what He's done for you, obviously. But there are people through this that I feel like God has still called us to reach out to and to love. And I haven't, in my opinion, I didn't ever see it as an evil I guess, are them taking it as an evil thing. And so I personally have put on the mask to carry on conversations or to make someone else feel comfortable in the situation. But personally, we don't wear it. We don't wear it here. We don't wear it in our vehicles or when we're walking around outside. You know, my kids, they have to wear it at school. So it's been a question for me on how am I going to love someone through this and be able to carry on a conversation that probably, hopefully, will come back to the gospel.
Yeah. And the reason I want to discuss this is because we all do view it a little different.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Do we love one another?
Without a doubt.
And so I don't want anybody to think that we can't love one another and maybe view things just a little bit different in the way we see it. In my mind, and y'all know this, I believe that you cannot love without truth. The Bible says tell the truth in love. And I'm not just telling the truth when I speak. I'm telling the truth with my actions.
Right.
And so I'm not going to live a lie in my mind and think I'm doing the loving thing.
I'm thinking that through. I know what you mean. And I think when we discussed this, we found out that we agree in more ways than we realized, because we were all saying, hey, we do believe scientifically it's not making a difference. We do believe that there's a bigger conspiracy to this. So we can agree on that. We also agree that individuals and businesses should have the freedom to do what they want to do, and we can vote with our time and our money. And we aren't necessarily trying to combat someone there at a door, but we'll take it where we need to. And I think everyone here agreed on that. So we have to figure out where we're actually disagreeing is the issue. But
I think the only place we're probably disagreeing to some extent is you probably will put that mask on faster than I will.
that's probably right. Like if you're going to a store that has it on the sign, has it on the door.
Yeah.
Then
And I don't have a problem
Yeah.
with that.
And I'm literally wearing it the bare minimum of possible. Yeah. It's literally just into the door of a place that tells me to. Whether I'm complying or not, the point is to make people comfortable. I'm not wearing it anywhere else, anywhere, because I'm with you on that. I'm just deciding where this fight needs to be taken.
Well, you said a while ago it has nothing to do with godlessness. We're not right, and it's not something about whether I really know who Christ is, whether I'm putting this thing on or not. The big thing for me, like I said, and I have not heard it the way that you're putting it in some of this terms of love. I think that a lot of people, I'm a firm believer, people don't know how much you, or care about how much you know till they know how much you care.
Right.
And so I think actions do speak louder than words. And how we, I don't know, handle those actions are different, I guess.
But you said something about truth, and you said, hey, I don't want to go against what I know to be true. But in my mind, it does bring up some questions. And like I said, I did talk about that. We talked one day at lunch about sharing the gospel. And let's say you're sharing with a Muslim, and somehow the conversation comes to Abraham's almost sacrificing one of his children. And the Bible says it's Isaac. And the Muslims, whether it's in the Quran or not, say it's Ishmael. The truth we know and believe would be it's Isaac. The question is, do we stop and combat that truth there, or do we still say, hey, whoever it was in that situation, without even acknowledging or not, what's the important fact about that story?
I think the answer to this question is exactly what we're kind of concluding, isn't it? You're probably going to answer that question different than I will. You're probably going to go in the back door. What do you think I'm probably going to do?
Go through the front door.
I'm going to go through the front
And it does come down to Bible.
But God created us different, didn't he? Does that make us wrong?
It's kind of like the Paul and Barnabas discussion. It's
Right.
Bible personalities. That Jesus had all the personalities in one person. He could do literally all of those things whenever he wanted to.
Yeah,
Plus
you're
he's-
going to slap him in the back of the head, and I'm going to hit him in the mouth.
He's the Lord. He can do it all, and that's why it's kind of tricky when we look at Jesus to see what exactly he did, or necessarily how he did it too, because he's got all the personality. He's got the Paul and Barnabas and all of them rolled into one.
But I don't want us to forget the overarching problem is that we've got a demonic evil, and you've got to fight that demonic evil that's permeating our society.
Hey, that's my question. That's my thought. How do you stand up against something like that? So tyranny has been something that America has dealt with since the beginning of its foundation, and there's always been people who stood up and stood their ground on things, and it's developed the freedoms that we have. So let's take it a step further. If we're looking at it, evil versus good, if nobody stands up at any point, do you ever combat the problem?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you need to have people that are willing to take a stand for something, right?
It's honestly, it's probably not unlike the gospel. Now think about the gospel. You have people that are working with what you'd almost call non-combatants on the ground to win them over, or combatants. Either way, you're winning people individually through the gospel, but you're also facing systematic big picture injustices too at the same time. They're both fought differently, but they're both needing to happen. And so how are we doing those, and who in the church is doing those is the question. But you said something interesting. Our country's founded on basically an insurrection. Our state is founded on the principles. We got the Alamo, so it's the first thing we think of when we say what do we do in a situation?
And where did we get that? Where did we get that freedom and that fight for that type of freedom? That's going to come from Christian principles, right? It's going to come from Scripture.
I don't think you can. What I see too many people want to do is stick their head in the sand
Roll over too
and
easy.
act like there's not a problem. Let's just get life back to normal. But the fact is, we've got an evident communist movement in this country. Is that right or wrong?
Right.
We've got an attack on children. A vicious attack on children at many levels. So do I stick my head in the sand and say, well, they're not really doing that? There's not a problem with pornography. There's not a problem with child sexual trafficking. There's not a problem with what's being taught in school that's not correct. There's not a problem that we remove God. There's not a problem with abortion. There's not a problem with... Because there is. It's evil. Our rights are under attack. And if I sit back here and just go along with the flow, just let them do what they want to do, I don't want to cause any scene, I don't want to cause any problems, what's going to happen? That's a question.
If people don't do anything, then they're going to have the other side take over. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at some point you got to push back in love.
Well, that's always the question. We already said, what's the most effective ways to push back? Where? Yeah. And so that's going to be
you
the
need
big
people
issue.
who you need, and that's where it goes back to what we were discussing earlier. There's different people that are created different ways. You need the people that are going to take the stand, the hardline stand, the one that's out there that's pushing it, right? And then you've got people that are taking the stand, but maybe in a different way. In a lot
I
of
think
minutes.
what's been hilarious to me watching all this, you'll see these people that you know in their home they don't do masks, right? And the other day I'm we've gone into the quad down here, we're eating, and I see this couple come up to pay, and the guy has his mask on and the girl doesn't, and you won't believe how many times I see that. The family stands in this position, but the woman in the family is the one who doesn't wear the mask. And you just wonder why that is.
We saw one day where they have the sign, you're supposed to wear it to your table and back. And once again, that's another fight, is the hypocrisy of the standards, like at the gym. You don't have to wear it when you're doing cardio, but you have to wear it when you're doing weights. You can make arguments, but the point is, we were cashing out at a place, and the cashier wasn't wearing their mask, even though on the signs everyone's supposed to wear it.
Well, what you got to remember is that the sign is put on there by the health department. that doesn't mean the owner agrees with the sign. That means they have to have the sign up.
Right.
And the only way I can know that is to walk in and test the waters. And sometimes you walk in, they say, would you put a mask on? Well, you got a choice now. You can either say, oh,
Yeah.
okay, and put your mask on, or go shop somewhere else. But most of the time, they don't say anything.
Yeah. But once again, it still comes down to how you do it when you do it. And the problem is I've heard too many stories of people saying, well, I can't wait to go test this, or I can't, or they're going to tell me something and I'm just going to ignore them and just walk on by. Or I've heard too many things, or hey, you're wrong. I've heard too many of that, and I haven't heard enough people saying, hey, I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. And hey, I can go this and I can do that.
I think to me, there's a bit of a journey in it. And so you're going to find people at different levels handling it different ways, because they'll see, this isn't doing me any good, and I don't want to wear this thing.
Well, you even see different towns handling it different.
Oh, you get out of these metropolitan areas, they're not wearing them.
I mean, but I don't know. It's just a different.
But you do realize we have a super spreader event every week.
Right.
Several of them.
Right.
We hadn't had any big outbreaks. We've had a few people have coronavirus.
Right.
But, you follow. And I'd suggest people go to frontlinedoctors.com.
Okay.
Frontlinedoctors.com. And just listen to those doctors who early on were telling you hydroxychloroquine works, same doctors. And they have stuff on vaccines, what they're believing about vaccines. And at least listen and hear what other scientists and doctors are saying instead of just following the propaganda machine.
See, that right there is what I'm talking about. That's helpful. It's loving. It's apologetics. It's just trying to win people over, change the way their mind's thinking. Now, you can't all do that in every situation in war. Sometimes you got to shoot before they shoot. But if there are situations where you can say, hey, you may be getting your news from here. Why don't you check this out? Is there a way we can help change some people's hearts and minds along the way? Just like you just did right there. And you did it with facts, and you did it with information. And you did it in a loving way. And hopefully people get that and say, wow, you just armed me with some good information.
But, and I think, we're going to try to put up some information on our church website where people can go and you can look at the information, and if you think it's baloney, that's your choice. We're not the ones trying to take your rights away.
You'll be wrong, of course, but you're free to be wrong.
Well, I may disagree with you, but isn't it okay to disagree on some things?
Should be.
And to think and have open dialogue. But that's what they're trying to do, shut down free speech and dialogue, and you do it our way, or we're going to shut you down, cut you off, and cancel you. Well, canceling's not of God. And you don't need free speech if everybody agrees with your speech. The reason you need an amendment for free speech is because you tick people off when you're speaking. Outside that, you don't need it. I want to do one more thing, then we'll be done, because y'all go sleep on me.
I have a Zoom meeting for...
Just a second.
at
Sugar
5:30.
Lump's calling me.
She wants to be on the live,
she
on the
wants-
chat,
Just
on the
a
round table.
Hello. Okay. We're doing a live stream. Did you want to say anything?
It's not live yet, but it will be.
I can put you on.
We've just extended our show.
Okay. Right now we're talking about masks. Jordan wants a ninja mask.
It's got to be
He wants a
Star Wars.
Mandalorian mask.
I did lose my Star Wars, my newest Star Wars one.
He wants a lightsaber.
It flew away in the wind. I grieved, not because I want to wear a mask ever, but I really liked that one. So we need to keep talking.
Wait just a minute. I'm going to put you on the microphone. Just a second.
Hold up. Let me turn it up.
Grocery list going through here.
Okay, this Sugar Lump live and on the phone.
Your finger's covering the speaker.
Say what you're going to say.
My take on the mask is I don't wear one, and then if I go in, I have one in my pocket or in my purse. If they say something, I either put it on or just go ahead and leave the store.
Yeah. See?
Depends on what I'm doing.
And it used to hang on her ear.
One of the managers said you don't have to have a mask. It's not going to be, they're not going to police you. They want you to wear one, but they're not going to police you. And so I don't wear one. But if I make someone stumble or an elderly person gets upset, says, "Man, why don't you have your mask on?" My response will be, if it's making you uncomfortable that I'm not wearing my mask, I'll be glad to put it on. So that's my take on it. Don't wear one unless you're addressed, and you either have to make a choice, either put it on or leave. That's it. And be kind about it.
Okay, y'all heard from the sugar lump now.
It's pretty reasonable there. Hard to argue with.
We're going to wrap up here. I'll see you after I pick up Avery.
I think that was the final word on the mask right there.
That's it.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Can't argue with much of anything there, so or actually none. So.
And everybody knows she's vicious. She ran around for months with it on her. She'd hang it on her ear.
So I haven't gone any place besides the situations I've had at the gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have not had any other instances where I've been bothered with mask or not. You know, I've gone to a few places. I go to HEB. I don't go to Walmart, but that's just because I don't like Walmart. I don't want to go in there. And pretty much anything I'm going to need, I can get through HEB or whatever. I went to Best Buy, walked in without a mask. Nobody said a word to me about the stuff that I needed and walked out. Went to Moody's this past week, Moody's Meat Market. They didn't say anything to me. So I haven't ran into a situation where somebody is throwing a fit. I've had situations at gyms, and my response at both of those gyms were like, okay, then I'll just cancel my membership here and I'll go somewhere where I don't have to wear a mask. But to me, that deal becomes a little bit more frustrating because they say at one gym, you don't have to wear a mask if you're doing cardio. So the part where you're huffing and puffing the most, you don't have to wear a mask. But I'm over here at the weights and I have to wear a mask. But there's people who are touching all of these weights. There's people who are touching all of these seats, all the equipment that's in
like
here.
Like the keypad on the credit card machine where you eat. That's my point too. The hypocritical nature of most of the rules are silly. You go in a restaurant, you wear it to your table.
Can you say
and
hypocritical?
Yes.
Well,
You'll hurt somebody's feelings.
I like to say what you say. Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy.
But that's
and so that's the kind of stuff I want.
That even sounded redneck.
But that's my big problem right there. It's the hypocrisy of it all. And so then I ask myself the question. That's where I ask myself the question. If I say I disagree with this mask, but I'm going to wear it, am I a hypocrite now? When I have a choice to say I just won't do business here, right? Because that was the dilemma that I ran into the other day. What do I do if I'm going into this gym and they're going to say something to me about my mask? I don't like the mask. I don't want to wear the mask. I think the mask is not doing what everybody thinks it's doing. There's just a whole lot of things that I have problems with on that mask, not to mention some of the stuff that we've already mentioned. And so if I just say, well, I'm just going to put on the mask, well, doesn't that make me a hypocrite in my own beliefs?
That's such a good question. I don't know if it's the same thing as when we go to Israel and there's certain foods or things we can't put together, certain little hats we got to wear in a section or not. I don't know.
Went over to the Muslim districts.
Yeah, well, that's what we did.
Had a pizza.
But that's the kind of questions I wonder. When Paul gets accused of, in Acts 20:21, gets accused of saying, discrediting the Jews and doing these things, and they say, okay, well, all you got to do is just go do this Jewish ritual and ceremony with these guys, even though you didn't do anything wrong, but just to make them feel better about it. Did he say, well, I know the truth, I did nothing wrong with it, and I'm not going to do that because that's ridiculous? Or did he go and he did the little... So I don't know. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking at and wondering.
There's probably a difference between I'm doing something along with your culture and I'm participating in something where I see a satanic takeover.
I'm just wondering in the gospel if he's telling people, hey, this religion, this group here, this is works, and we're talking about Jesus and grace, and I get accused of messing with the religion, and that's at the core of the religion. And he says, well, I'll go do those things just to make it feel better. So I don't know. I don't know how deep and important it goes.
Well, we can. Well, I guess we can beat it up all day. We need to quit.
There's definitely
I
context
did
involved.
want to go to this morning. I was doing a prayer walk, and I've been real concerned that when they were trying to bring it all this voting information, that no court seemed to want to listen to the evidence. To me, that bothered me. And when the Supreme Court, you remember the Texas case, and they wouldn't listen to it.
I thought that was going to be it.
I did too, and they wouldn't listen to it. And I got really upset thinking, well, the highest court in the land will not listen to the evidence. So I'm walking down the road today talking to the Lord, and I started in chapter 9. I'd done my whole walk, and I hadn't made it through chapter 9. I'm praying through all this
Psalm
stuff.
9.
Psalm
9.
Did I not say
You just
Psalm?
said chapter
No,
9.
There was a lot of
Chapter-
chapter 9s in the Bible.
I knew it wasn't Philemon. I knew that.
You know, I don't need this abuse.
I ruled out a third of the
Certainly-
book.
certainly
that don't
wasn't
have 9
Titus.
chapters.
Wasn't
Yeah,
Titus.
Ephesians, Colossians,
Psalm.
Philippians.
See, Jordan knew because he looked over here.
He was peeking.
I did. I peeked over. I wish
But-
I could do that on Sunday
But
morning.
I want to end with this right here. I'm talking to the Lord about all this stuff, okay? It's really bugging me. And he says, but the Lord sits in the throne forever. He has established his throne for justice. I thought, we've got a much higher court
Verse 7.
than the Supreme Court. And he judges the world with righteousness, and he judges the peoples with uprightness. We've got a God in heaven who's lost control of nothing, and the place we can appeal beyond the Supreme Court is to the very courtroom of God himself, who's the righteous judge who wants justice on the earth. And so that's my parting shot. You people, pray. Go to the throne of justice. We got a real God who sits on that throne. He cares what's going on. And he is our hope. So,
And we've seen him answer prayer.
and one of the things that we've got to really get going in this church, and we've always been big on it, but we're going to be bigger on it, is, and I told Nat that this morning, the Holy Spirit of God will not move where there's not a big evangelism program going. They're coupled together. And so people, if you want the Spirit of God moving, you're going to have to tell people about the Son, Jesus Christ. So, and that's our big goal. We're about the kingdom. First and foremost, we're about the kingdom of God before we're about our own kingdoms. So, we want to keep that in mind. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for the time that we get to just discuss, Lord. Honestly, this is a lot of fun we have here doing this. And, I hope, Lord, that somehow we can get a message out that's important. And I pray, Father, that it always be loving, but truthful. Lord, we need your wisdom and your guidance and your leadership, and I pray that you'd put a guard over our mouths so that we speak in ways that are pleasing to you. I pray that you'd guide us in our thoughts. We need wisdom. We need knowledge. We just need your presence in our lives, in our church, in our homes. And I pray, Lord, that you'd just overwhelm us with your love and presence and hide us in the shelter of your wings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
If Justin doesn't play any out music, I'm going to start singing.
I didn't have no out music.
We
It's good music, too.